Welcome to Deep Journal Global. Iran's plans for the Middle East are crumbling. After airstrikes in Iraq and Syria against armed groups backed by Tehran, the U.S. has now turned its attention to areas controlled by the pro-Iranian Houthis in Yemen, where the Red Sea has become a crisis center. The United Kingdom also supported the U.S. effort. The most violent airstrikes of recent times took place in Yemen. Here are all the details about the new joint airstrikes of the US and the UK, which created a bomb effect on the agenda. The Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen continued to attack ships passing through the Red Sea, taking advantage of the US drone and missile attacks on US military bases in Syria and Iraq. So far, the Houthis have carried out more than 40 attacks, sabotage and bombings in the Red Sea. The US and the UK have so far carried out 11 airstrikes in Yemen in response to these Houthi approaches. We witnessed the 12th airstrike in Yemen after the aggressive behavior of the pro-Iranian groups in the Middle East against the US coalition forces started to get out of control. The new joint airstrike by the US and the UK is one of the most violent in recent times. The start of the 12th airstrikes was preceded by US drone strikes on the USS Carney naval ship off the Gulf of Aden. The USS Carney shot down this IHA, but this was only the first stage of the apocalypse in the region. On the same day that USS Carney shot down a Houthi UAV, USS Laboon and FA-18 Super Hornets of the USS Dwight D. Eisenhower Carrier Strike Group destroyed 7 Houthi one-way UAVs. In the same time frame, U.S. Central Command's MQ-9 Reaper drones detected drones in Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen and determined that they posed an imminent threat to commercial vessels and U.S. Navy ships in the area. Once the target was identified, drones from U.S. Central Command forces attacked 4 Houthi drones preparing for launch. All drones were destroyed. In total, 12 Houthi drones were destroyed in the first phase of the joint airstrikes. While all this was happening, around 90 ships were passing through the Red Sea. It was claimed that the passage of the ships was suspended after the attack started. After the Houthi drones were eliminated, the US and the UK launched one of the heaviest airstrikes on Yemen. The US Central Command, with the support of the UK Armed Forces, as well as Australia, Bahrain, Canada, Denmark, the Netherlands, and New Zealand, attacked 36 military targets in 13 locations controlled by the Iran-backed Houthis. Resources targeted by U.S. airstrikes included numerous underground storage facilities, command and control, missile systems, drone storage and operation sites, radars and helicopters. But one of the most important targets was the airport area in Sana'a. This is where the Houthis' most important military resources were located. It was claimed that the U.S. airstrikes in Sana'a hit several Houthi military trucks. But these trucks were carrying a large number of missiles. That's why the scale of the strikes was so severe. There were repeated explosions at the airbase. After the explosions, many missiles and military ammunition exploded, causing more violent explosions in the area. In other words, the airbase in Sana'a had turned into hell. Among the targets destroyed at the airbase were allegedly Soviet-era Mi-17 helicopters, which the Houthis used to land civilian oil and transport ships. In addition to these helicopters, Houthi fighter jets were also known to be present at the Sana'a airbase. If you remember, the Houthis flew a Soviet-era MiG-29 fighter jet and a Northrop F-5 Tiger fighter jet over the capital Sana'a during a military parade this year. These planes were still at the Sana'a airbase in recent days. So it is quite possible that the U.S. airstrikes have damaged these aircraft. In addition to the casualties at the Sana'a airbase, the coastal provinces of Hodeidah and Hajjah, where the Houthis have been launching attacks on merchant ships, were also reportedly hit. The port of Hodeidah had already been targeted in the previous operation, the 12th U.S. airstrike. In the previous strike operation in the port, 10 Houthi UAVs were destroyed. In the current strikes, the 12th U.S. airstrikes, an IHA launch pad was reportedly destroyed in the port of Hodeidah. In Hajjah, many Houthi military resources were also reportedly destroyed. Considering all these events, we can see that the US and the UK have responded to the Iranian-backed Houthis in Yemen in a very harsh and effective manner. But will the Houthis continue to target ships in the Red Sea after the latest joint airstrikes organized by the US and the UK? To answer this question, we need to find out how much damage the US and UK airstrikes have inflicted on the Houthis in Yemen so far. Here is the latest after 12 airstrikes in the region. So far, US airstrikes have eliminated 100 UAVs. One USV vehicle was among the targets eliminated. The Houthis also lost 3 speedboats, 28 anti-ship ballistic missile launch sites, 14 drone launch sites, 1 SAM surface-to-air missile, and more than 1 radar site. In total, more than 21 offensive-ready missiles are also known to have been destroyed in U.S. airstrikes against the Houthis in Yemen. When we take into account the Houthi military resources destroyed in the wake of the latest strikes, a tragic picture emerges for the Iranian-backed group. Despite these heavy losses, the Houthis claim that they will continue their suicide attacks in the Red Sea. This approach emphasizes Iran's military and material support to the Houthis. Without Iranian support, this irregular armed group in Yemen has no chance against the US and UK-led coalition forces. Most recently, the US reported that Iran was enabling the Houthis to target ships and that President Biden had sent a special message to Tehran to stop this. Iran has denied allegations that it is helping the Houthis, but Saudi Arabia and the United States have revealed that Iran smuggled weapons, including drones, cruise missiles, and ballistic missiles, to the Houthis in violation of the UN arms embargo during Yemen's civil war. Such missiles and drones have reportedly been used in attacks against Saudi Arabia, as well as its ally, the United Arab Emirates. After all this evidence emerged, Iran denied supplying arms to the Houthis, claiming that it was only supporting them politically. But commanders from Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and Lebanon's Hezbollah group are on the ground in Yemen to direct and supervise Houthi attacks on Red Sea ships. Tehran has also provided advanced drones, anti-ship cruise missiles, precision strike ballistic missiles, and medium-range missiles to the Houthis, who began targeting merchant ships in November in solidarity with Hamas in Gaza. All sources confirm that Revolutionary Guards commanders and advisors provide technical information, data, and intelligence support to determine which of the dozens of ships that pass through the Red Sea every day are destined for Israel and targeted by the Houthis. In fact, Washington recently revealed that Iran is deeply involved in planning operations against shipping in the Red Sea, and that its intelligence is critical for the Houthis to target the ships. In response to a request for comment on this story, the White House pointed to Iran's previous public statements on how it supports the Houthis. In one of its weekly press conferences, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesman Nasser Kanani repeatedly denied Tehran's involvement in the Houthis' Red Sea attacks. The Revolutionary Guard's Public Relations Office, however, did not respond. Meanwhile, Houthi spokesman Mohammed Abdul Salam denied any role for Iran or Hezbollah in directing the Red Sea attacks. A Hezbollah spokesman did not respond to requests for comment on aid issues. Despite the denial of the facts being kept behind the scenes, the whole world knows the spiral of relations in the region. Indeed, if we look at the current position of the Houthis from a very broad perspective, without Iran's help, the armed group would not still hold the most important centers in Yemen and would never have been able to carry out such attacks from the Red Sea. The Houthis currently control Sana'a and the northwest of Yemen, including the Red Sea coastline. Most of Yemen's population lives in these areas, and the Houthis run a de facto government that collects taxes and prints money. Yemen's internationally recognized government is based in the southern port of Aden. It is overseen by the 8-member Presidential Leadership Council, which President Hadi handed over in 2022. Of these areas, Sana'a and the port of Hodeidah in the region are particularly important for the Houthis. As we mentioned, Sana'a is known to have a large number of Houthi drones, fighter jets, and other aircraft. The port of Hodeidah, on the other hand, is home to ballistic anti-ship and anti-aircraft missile launchers, UAV launch sites, and a large number of military vehicles and equipment. But after the recent US and UK airstrikes, a large number of Houthi military vehicles, missile and UAV launchers, and control centers in both Sana'a and the port of Hodeidah were destroyed. In other words, the Houthis faced a great tragedy. In the coming days, the Houthis are likely to face even greater losses. Iran is unlikely to change its support for the armed group in Yemen. The US and the UK, on the other hand, are not expected to abandon their retaliatory strategy. So the Red Sea and Yemen may soon become a clash arena again. Thank you for following us.